to the RCEP question at the end, we really only work with the companies as they're bringing product in from other countries to the U.S. So as long as sort of the U.S. is not part of that, it's not something that we've really focused on. And I don't have much to add on the others, but again, would like to thank WITA.
Okay, let me run through 4 points but very quickly. I found the discussion on labor very interesting. We are currently involved, not representing anybody, but working on a Congolese application for GSP redesignation for them. During the hearing, the labor unions did go up and say, well, we're not against it, but what they did was not really noteworthy. The labor reforms, our own view, and again, we're going to look very closely at our friends from labor who's in the room and so on, was that, wait a minute, guys, the problem with labor they're talking about is a problem that is rebel infested, is where the Ebola is where the civil disturbances are. The government is doing a hell of a lot. How much more can it do? Number two, given the fact the law calls for taking step towards, doesn't include for absolute, and given the political importance to this administration of supporting the current government because its opposition is terrorist or dictatorship, we really hope very much that when you look at this labor review, you'll look at the fact that you have a Democrat pro-labor right guy there and hopefully take that into account. I think the most important question now in terms of how you characterize countries is how you categorize various levels of countries is what's going on with the new U.S. aid mechanism or private sector support mechanism called the Development Finance Corporation, because there they talk about more aid for poorer countries and so on, etc. Very important, however, that this goes to many African countries, independent of their level of wealth, because that's where one of the major points we were competing with China. So hopefully there'll be a review across this one government approach about all these development countries, all these different levels of development, and we can look at that as positively as possible. Again, a question for future GSP. As Africa is moving towards economic integration, it does it at 2 levels, at the regional level and of course at the continental level. And again, we would hope that perhaps maybe you have to work with some legislation in Congress, I'm not sure, that you begin to look at eligibility on a regional basis. Because if you designate one country, don't designate another country, you just create various problems. And then my final comment will be two words on the point just made about the RCEP and so on. I was very complimentary about the Trump administration. However, one area I do disagree was that the TPP, just because of its negotiating ability vis-a-vis China, was a very important agreement and so on, etc. Who knows what's going to happen now? The Indians and the U.S. both share a common concern with providing any form of duty-free treatment for China because of competitive reasons. It's slowing up the RCEP. I don't know what's going to happen. Now that you do have the TPP in place, or whatever the new name for the TPP is, that's a ridiculous name. Who remembers it? I don't know. But it's a partnership. I don't know. But anyway, but the new TPP without the U.S. is in place. We're now having these discussions with China that covers every single possible issue. India keeps on slowing RCEP. Maybe we may see the kind of architecture, and this is consistent with the Trump approach, to have the big picture and so on in place. Again, unbelievable panel, unbelievable questions, and we thank WITA for once again bringing topics to the fore that no one else discusses. So we thank you very much.
Thank you, Steve. Marie?
Okay, so just to wrap up, I guess a couple thoughts. First of all, thank you, Steve, for bringing up the new Development Finance Agency, and I do think that that's going to be an important step in hopefully trying to coordinate a lot of these efforts. I also really think that support kind of really focusing on, that we should really focus on Africa for a number of reasons. One, I think as Steve mentioned, it is a point of really strong competition between the US and China. If you look at profound poverty, most of the profound poverty is really now going to be in Africa, and I think that poses a lot of political as well as sort of geostrategic issues that we're going to really need to confront over the next 20 years. I I also wanted to just say that I support the notion that we really have to look at these countries holistically. You know, like Steve mentioned about the Congo. You know, another country that I think personally we need to focus a lot more on is Indonesia. So it's the largest moderate Muslim country in the world. And, you know, that for a whole host of reasons, you know, there's a country that we should really be putting a lot of support into. In terms of just quickly, Ed's comment about oil money in Nigeria, to me, that just really brings home the issue of corruption in these countries. A lot of these countries, yes, have a lot of resource money, but it's not flowing down into the population. So a lot of which is why they really need a lot of this rule of law, good governance, training, you know, because the country, you know, the oligarchs may be wealthy, but it may not be felt by the general manufacturing or agriculture population. Last but not least, RCEP, not happening anytime soon in my mind, but I think if it does, it is going to be an issue of concern. And of course, I hold out hope that we can rejoin TPP. Thank you, Ken, Katrin, panel mates, and everybody out there. Thank you.
Thanks, Rita. And I just wanted to also say thank you to this fantastic panel. Thanks to all of you. It was great to see such a packed room, especially after a big night last night with the Nats game. But I am hoping, and I'll turn to Ken to close us out, but I hope this is a topic that we can continue to explore in WITA. So please tell us if there are particular things that you'd like to bring to the table next time. But also, I just wanted to say thank you to all of you and look forward to continuing the conversation.
Thank you, Katrin. Thanks to all of you. This is a really terrific conversation. Really glad to have been able to revisit this topic, which we haven't addressed in recent months. And so really grateful to all of you. And I echo what Katrin said on this and other topics. If you have ideas, please bring them to us. We do try to be responsive to the WITA membership with ideas for panels and discussions and speakers. So if you think of an idea that's something we should address, that people would have an interest in, please bring it to our attention. If you see us announce an event, and we sometimes say panel, TBA, or additional speakers to be added, we often have invitations out to speakers at that point, but we don't know if they're going to be able to join us. Please send those ideas to us. We'd love to hear it. We try to be responsive and bring new voices to the table. So thank you. These are not all new voices. They're people we've had at WITA panels before. We're really grateful to all of you for doing this today. Thank you, Katrin, once again for moderating this discussion. Thanks to all of you, and we hope to see you again soon.